VH1-12, Repisode 43. The show opens with a burst of vibrant lights, and the unmistakable beat of MC Hammer's iconic "You Can't Touch This" blasts through the speakers. However, the lyrics have been cleverly reworked into a parody titled "You Can't Stun This," dedicated to none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. The crowd immediately erupts into cheers, and the camera pans across the audience, capturing their excitement and anticipation for another wild night of 1412 wrestling. As the music swells, MC Hammer, dressed in his signature parachute pants and an Austin 316 t-shirt, struts onto the stage with his trademark swagger. He begins to dance his way down the ramp, microphone in hand, spitting out the reworked lyrics with enthusiasm. "Yo, Stone Cold's in the house, breaking all the rules, stunning everyone, and chugging down them brews. Majin Buu, don't you even try, 'cause when the rattlesnake strikes, you're gonna say bye-bye." The crowd goes wild as Hammer reaches the ring, sliding under the ropes with surprising agility. He continues his performance, dancing around the ring and hyping up the fans. The camera cuts to the commentary team, who are all visibly entertained by the unexpected musical start to the show. Mr. Feeney, ever the professional, leans into the microphone with a smile. "Welcome, everyone, to another unpredictable night of 1412 wrestling. If you thought last week was chaotic, just wait until you see what we have in store tonight." Jim Ross, with his usual enthusiasm, chimes in. "That's right, Mr. Feeney. After last week's absolute mayhem, Stone Cold Steve Austin is on a direct collision course with Majin Buu, and you can bet tonight's action is going to be off the charts." Elvira, her voice dripping with intrigue, adds, "And let's not forget the fallout from the Flintstones' attempted hostile takeover, or the fact that Rita Repulsa is running wild after President Freddy Krueger's mysterious disappearance. Something wicked is brewing tonight, and I, for one, can't wait to see what unfolds." Pauly Shore, ever the wild card, grins as he leans into his mic. "Yo, bros, we're in for some gnarly action tonight, so let's get this party started. But seriously, what's up with Freddy? Dude just vanished!" The camera shifts back to the ring where MC Hammer is still going strong, now leading the crowd in a chant of, "You can't stun this!" The energy in the arena is electric, and Hammer finally wraps up his performance with a dramatic spin and a mic drop, leaving the fans roaring with approval. As the music fades out, the camera returns to the commentary team, who are ready to set the stage for the night's matches. "Mr. Feeney!" His tone serious. "Tonight we have a lineup that's sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. The Tick and Kevin McAllister are teaming up to face Bebop and Rocksteady, and you know Shredder will be lurking nearby." Jim Ross nods in agreement. "And let's not forget Earthworm Jim going one-on-one with Red Ninja. Jim's been making some wild accusations about Harry and Marv, and tonight we'll see if he can back up his claims in the ring." Ever the master of suspense teases the upcoming main event. But the real fireworks will come when Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Dennis Rodman team up to take on Majin Buu, Gary Busey, and the Iron Sheik. With tensions this high, it's bound to be an explosive showdown. Pauly Shore, unable to resist, throws in his 2 cents. "Yo, dudes, don't forget about the Flintstones. They're gunning for the stable championship, and you know they're not playing around. But, seriously, where's Freddy? I mean, the dude's usually all about making nightmares real, but now he's the one who's gone poof." The commentary team shares a concerned glance, the mystery of Freddy Krueger's disappearance clearly weighing on their minds. As the camera pans over the excited crowd, the energy in the arena is palpable. The show is just beginning, but the anticipation is already at a fever pitch. With the opening performance setting the tone, the night promises to be one filled with chaos, surprises, and unforgettable moments. The camera zooms in on the ring as MC Hammer takes one last bow, the crowd still buzzing from the energetic start. As he exits the ring, the camera shifts focus to the entrance ramp, where the first competitors of the night are preparing to make their way out. "Let's not keep these fans waiting any longer," Jim Ross exclaims. The first match of the night is about to kick off, and if it's anything like what we've seen so far, we're in for one heck of a ride. With that, the screen fades to black, transitioning into the opening sequence for the night's first match, leaving the audience eager for the madness that's about to unfold. The screen fades in from a Kylie Minogue wine commercial to the bustling backstage area of 1412 Wrestling. Grover, the ever-enthusiastic Blue interviewer, stands by with his microphone, ready to get the inside scoop from tonight's competitors. The camera zooms in as Grover, with his usual charm, smiles brightly into the lens. "Hello, everyone," Grover begins, his voice filled with excitement. "I'm here with two of the most unique teams in 1412 Wrestling. First up, let's talk to the dynamic duo of The Tick and Kevin McAllister." The camera pans to reveal The Tick and Kevin McAllister standing side by side, an odd but formidable pair. The Tick, towering over Kevin, is already in full superhero mode, his chest puffed out, radiating confidence. Kevin, on the other hand, is fiddling with a small gadget that looks suspiciously like a homemade trap. Grover turns to The Tick first. "Tick, you and Kevin are up against Bebop and Rocksteady tonight, and they'll have Shredder and Chandler Bing in their corner. What's your plan going into this match?" The Tick strikes a heroic pose, his voice booming with bravado. "Fear not, Grover, for justice shall prevail. Bebop and Rocksteady may be tough, but they've never faced the likes of The Tick. And with Kevin's cunning traps and my nigh invulnerability, we'll send those villains packing faster than you can say spoon." Grover nods, clearly impressed. "And Kevin, how do you feel about facing off against these two brutes?" Kevin looks up from his gadget, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Grover, I've dealt with guys like this before. They're big, but they're not too bright. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, and let's just say Bebop and Rocksteady are in for a surprise they'll never forget." Grover beams, clearly excited to see what this duo has in store. "Well, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Best of luck out there!" The camera cuts to another part of the backstage area, where Grover now stands with Bebop, Rocksteady, Shredder, and Chandler Bing. Bebop and Rocksteady are flexing their muscles, clearly trying to psych themselves up for the match, while Shredder looms menacingly behind them. Chandler Bing, looking somewhat out of place, adjusts his tie and smirks at the camera. Grover, unfazed by the intimidating presence of Shredder, addresses Bebop and Rocksteady. "So, guys, you've got a big match tonight against The Tick and Kevin McAllister. How are you feeling?" Bebop snorts and cracks his knuckles. "We feel strong, Grover. The Tick and that little punk don't stand a chance against us." Rocksteady nods in agreement, his voice a low growl. "Yeah, we're gonna smash them. No traps, no tricks. They can't stop us." Grover then turns to Shredder, who glares into the camera with intensity. "Shredder, with you in their corner, Bebop and Rocksteady seem more motivated than ever. What's your take on tonight's match?" Shredder's voice is cold and calculated. "Grover, tonight is just the beginning. Bebop and Rocksteady will crush The Tick and Kevin McAllister, and then we will turn our focus back to the TMNT. This is only a small step in our plan for total domination." Chandler Bing, ever the wisecracker, chimes in with a grin. "Yeah, and I'm just here to make sure there's no monkey business, because, that's my job, keeping things classy." Grover, clearly unsettled by Shredder's ominous tone, quickly wraps up the interview. "Well, it sounds like this match is going to be intense. Good luck, everyone." The screen transitions back to the arena as the upbeat theme of Kevin McAllister plays. The crowd erupts as Kevin makes his way down the ramp, waving to the fans with a confident grin. The Tick follows closely behind, flexing his muscles and shouting his signature battle cry, "Spoon!" The audience is fully behind this unlikely duo, cheering them on as they enter the ring. The mood shifts as Bebop and Rocksteady's heavy metal entrance music hits. The two bruisers stomp down the ramp, flexing their muscles and looking every bit the part of the villains they are. Shredder and Chandler Bing follow closely. Shredder radiating menace, while Chandler casually adjusts his tie, trying to look as tough as possible. The crowd boos, but Bebop and Rocksteady seem to thrive on the negative energy, taunting the fans as they make their way to the ring. As the bell rings, Kevin McAllister immediately springs into action, deploying a series of Home Alone-style traps. Bebop and Rocksteady charge at him, but Kevin expertly evades their attacks, leading them into one trap after another. Bebop slips on a strategically placed pile of marbles, crashing into Rocksteady, who then trips over a tripwire, sending both of them tumbling into the ropes. Jim Ross, clearly enjoying the action, exclaims, "Kevin McAllister is using his brains to outsmart Bebop and Rocksteady. These two don't know what hit him." Mr. Feeney, with a touch of admiration, adds, "It's a classic case of brains versus brawn, and right now, Kevin's winning." However, the tide turns when Shredder, from the outside, orders Bebop and Rocksteady to regroup. Motivated by Shredder's presence, the duo finally manages to catch Kevin, tossing him across the ring like a rag doll. The Tick, seeing his partner in trouble, charges in to even the odds. He grabs Bebop and Rocksteady by the collars and effortlessly lifts them into the air, showing off his incredible strength. Elvira, watching in awe, remarks, "The Tick is an absolute powerhouse. Bebop and Rocksteady don't stand a chance against him." With Bebop and Rocksteady in his grasp, the Tick slams them into the mat with a thunderous tick-tock slam. The impact shakes the entire ring, and the crowd explodes with cheers. The Tick goes for the pin on Bebop, and the referee counts 1, 2, 3. The bell rings, signaling the victory for the Tick and Kevin McAllister. The crowd erupts as the duo celebrates in the ring, with Kevin jumping up and down in excitement, while the Tick strikes another heroic pose. Jim Ross, clearly impressed, declares, "What a performance by the Tick and young Kevin McAllister. These two just showed why they're a force to be reckoned with." Mr. Feeney, more cautious, adds, "But you've got to wonder what Shredder has up his sleeve next. He won't take this loss lightly." As the Tick and Kevin continue to celebrate, the camera cuts to Shredder, who is livid at ringside. He berates Bebop and Rocksteady for their failure, his voice filled with venomous anger. Chandler Bing tries to lighten the mood with a joke, but one withering glare from Shredder quickly shuts him up. Shredder leans into the camera, his voice cold and menacing. "This is far from over. The TMNT and everyone they care about will pay dearly for this humiliation. Mark my words." The screen fades to black as the Tick and Kevin McAllister celebrate their victory in the ring, while Shredder plots his next move, setting the stage for even more chaos in the weeks to come. The camera cuts back to the arena after a quick commercial break, where the commentary team is discussing the night's events so far. The crowd is still buzzing from the last match, but their attention shifts as Earthworm Jim's theme music hits. The crowd gives a mixed reaction as the intergalactic hero makes his entrance, his exaggerated swagger on full display. Jim struts down the ramp, his plasma blaster gleaming under the arena lights. He waves to the crowd, a goofy grin plastered on his face, seemingly oblivious to the challenges that await him. Jim Ross, ever the professional, sets the stage. "Well, folks, we've got Earthworm Jim in action next, taking on the mysterious Red Ninja. And I've got to say, Earthworm Jim has proven himself to be quite the wild card here in 1412 wrestling." Elvira, with a hint of amusement, chimes in. "He's not just unpredictable, JR. He's downright weird. And I love it. You never know what's going to happen when he's in the ring." Pauly Shore, always ready to crack a joke, adds, "Yo, this dude's like a mix of sci-fi and Saturday morning cartoons, bro. I'm stoked to see what he's got in store tonight." Earthworm Jim hops into the ring, bouncing on his heels and pointing his blaster at imaginary enemies, much to the delight of the younger fans in the crowd. But his playful demeanor shifts to confusion as the Red Ninja's music hits, and the shadowy figure makes his way to the ring with swift, precise movements. The Red Ninja pauses at the top of the ramp, scanning the arena with an intensity that immediately sets him apart from Jim's lighthearted antics. The crowd's murmurs turn to outright confusion as Bebop and Rocksteady, fresh off their earlier loss, stagger out behind the Red Ninja. The two bruisers look battered and beaten, clearly still feeling the effects of their match against the Tick and Kevin McAllister. They exchange confused glances with each other, clearly unsure why they're even out there. Jim Ross voices what everyone is thinking. "Wait a minute, what are Bebop and Rocksteady doing out here? They just had a match, and now they're accompanying the Red Ninja. This doesn't make any sense." Mr. Feeney, ever the voice of reason, adds, "This seems highly unusual. Bebop and Rocksteady aren't exactly known for their stealthy tactics, and Red Ninja doesn't strike me as the kind of competitor who'd want these two anywhere near his match." Elvira chuckles. "Maybe they're here to redeem themselves after that loss? Or maybe they're just lost. With these two, who knows? Pauly Shore, ever the jokester, chimes in. Maybe they thought this was the after party, dudes. But hey, I'm down for whatever happens next. As Red Ninja enters the ring, he too seems confused by the presence of Bebop and Rocksteady, casting a quick glance their way before refocusing on Earthworm Jim. The referee shrugs and signals for the bell, kicking off the match despite the strange circumstances. The match begins at a blistering pace, with Earthworm Jim immediately showcasing his unorthodox style. He ducks and weaves, avoiding Red Ninja's swift strikes with an almost cartoonish agility. Jim bounces off the ropes, launching into a spinning corkscrew attack that sends Red Ninja stumbling back. Red Ninja quickly regains his composure, using his superior martial arts skills to counter Jim's chaotic offense. He lands a series of precise kicks and chops, forcing Jim to retreat momentarily. But Jim, ever the resourceful fighter, rolls out of the way and uses his suit's elastic powers to stretch himself across the ring, tripping Red Ninja and sending him crashing to the mat. Jim Ross is on the edge of his seat, calling the action with excitement. Earthworm Jim is using every trick in the book to keep Red Ninja off balance. This is a real test of skill versus unpredictability. Outside the ring, Bebop and Rocksteady, still nursing their wounds, begin to stir. They exchange a few words, seemingly coming to the conclusion that they should help Red Ninja, though it's unclear if this is something Red Ninja actually wants. The two brutes clumsily attempt to climb onto the apron, but Jim quickly spots them and fires a warning shot with his plasma blaster, forcing them to back off. Elvira laughs. Looks like Jim isn't having any of that. Bebop and Rocksteady might want to rethink their life choices right about now. Red Ninja, realizing that he's on his own, refocuses on the task at hand. He moves in for a spin kick, aiming to take Jim's head off, but Jim ducks at the last second. The momentum of the missed kick sends Red Ninja spinning, and Jim takes full advantage, pulling out his plasma blaster and firing a shot that sends Red Ninja reeling. Pauly Shore, hyped up, shouts, "Bro, that was straight up gnarly!" Jim's got those dudes' number for sure. Sensing victory, Earthworm Jim springs into action. He catches the disoriented Red Ninja, lifts him up with surprising strength, and slams him down with a modified suplex. The crowd is on their feet as Jim hooks the leg, and the referee counts 1, 2, 3. Earthworm Jim wins. The bell rings, and Jim's music hits as he jumps to his feet, celebrating his victory. Bebop and Rocksteady, having failed in their half-hearted interference, slink away up the ramp, leaving Red Ninja to recover in the ring. Jim Ross praises the performance. What a match. Earthworm Jim pulled out all the stops and showed just how dangerous he can be in that ring. Elvira adds, and let's not forget, Jim might be a little out there, but he's full of surprises. You can never count him out. Jim grabs a microphone and, still catching his breath, addresses the crowd. Listen up, everyone. This victory is just the beginning. I know the truth about Harry and Marv. They're not just bumbling burglars. They're time-traveling warlords. And I'm going to prove it to the world. The crowd reacts with a mix of cheers and laughter, clearly entertained by Jim's wild accusations. Pauly Shore can't help but laugh. Yo, Earthworm Jim is on a whole different level, bro. Conspiracy theorist and intergalactic hero? Sign me up. With his message delivered, Earthworm Jim strikes one final pose for the crowd before exiting the ring, leaving the audience buzzing with excitement and questions about his ongoing feud with Harry and Marv. As Earthworm Jim makes his way up the ramp, the commentary team speculates on what's next for the eccentric hero. Meanwhile, in the ring, Red Ninja slowly pulls himself to his feet, clearly frustrated by the outcome. The camera fades out as the show cuts to a commercial break, leaving fans eagerly awaiting the next chaotic chapter in 14-12 wrestling. The camera cuts to the backstage area, revealing Strong Bad's locker room. The room is a chaotic mix of old-school wrestling posters, scattered lucha masks, and random knickknacks from the Homestar Runner universe. In the corner of the room, Strong Bad is hunched over an old, bulky computer, the screen flickering as it struggles to keep up with his typing. Strong Bad, wearing his signature lucha mask and boxing gloves, squints at the screen, his expression quickly shifting from mild annoyance to outright frustration. The camera zooms in over his shoulder, revealing an email on the screen that reads, Dear Strong Bad, who do you think is the tougher competitor in 1412 wrestling? The Moose or Muhammad Ali? Sincerely, dumb fan from the middle of nowhere. Strong Bad groans, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he reads the email aloud. Oh, great. Another genius email from the land of I don't know jack squat. Tougher competitor, huh? Moose or Muhammad Ali? Really, genius? This is the kind of hard-hitting journalism you're bringing to the table? He leans back in his chair, crossing his arms and shaking his head. Listen, kid, I don't know what kind of backwoods, internetless swamp you crawled out of, but let me set you straight. First of all, comparing a Moose to Muhammad Ali is like comparing Bub's concession stand to Strong Badia. One is a joke, and the other is a mighty, unstoppable fortress of coolness. Strong Bad starts typing furiously, his fingers clacking against the keys as he continues his rant. Let's break this down for you, since clearly you're not firing on all cylinders. A moose? Really? What's it gonna do? Chew on some leaves, wander into traffic, and stare at you with those big dumb moose eyes? Moose wouldn't last 5 seconds in the ring, man. It'd be like sending the cheat to do Homestar's taxes, completely out of its league. He pauses for a moment, smirking as he imagines the scenario. Actually, come to think of it, watching the cheat try to file Homestar's taxes would be a lot more entertaining than watching a moose stumble around the ring. I mean, the cheat can at least throw a wicked headbutt or set something on fire. What's a moose gonna do? Threaten to clog your drain with its antlers? Strong Bad leans in closer to the camera, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial tone. And Muhammad Ali? Let's not kid ourselves, kid. The man's a legend. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, punch you in the face so hard your grandma feels it. You think a moose stands a chance against the greatest of all time? That's like saying Homestar could outwit Strong Sad in a game of chess. It's not just unlikely, it's impossible. He throws his hands up in mock disbelief, shaking his head. I mean, come on. This is the same dude who took down George Foreman, who's built like Strong Mad after a 48-hour marshmallow binge, and you're gonna pit him against a moose? What's next? You want to see Ali take on Pom Pom in a dance-off? Please. Pom Pom would bubble wrap Ali right out of the competition. And then what? We all go home, disappointed and wondering why we ever listened to your dumb ideas. Strong Bad, clearly enjoying his tirade, leans back in his chair again, propping his feet up on the desk. Let me put it this way. Muhammad Ali is like the king of town when there's a plate of butter da. He's unstoppable. And the moose, that's like Hamzar when he tries to speak coherently. It just ain't happening, bro. There's no contest, no competition, no reason to even ask the question. He pauses, staring at the screen with a look of pure disdain. You know what, fan from the middle of nowhere? I'm done with you. Done with these ridiculous questions. Done with trying to explain the obvious to the oblivious. But I will say this. Next time, if you're gonna waste my time, at least ask something worthwhile. Like, hey, Strong Bad, who would win in a fight? The Poopsmith or a herd of rabid foam finger-wielding Trogdor fans? Now that's a question worth my time. With that, Strong Bad slams the laptop shut, the screen going dark as he crosses his arms and leans back in his chair. The camera zooms in on his face as he delivers one final quip. And for the record, Ali would beat that moose so bad it'd start grazing in a different time zone. The camera fades out, leaving Strong Bad muttering under his breath about the ridiculousness of the email as the show cuts to the next segment. The camera cuts to the ring as the familiar sound of glass shattering echoes through the arena, signaling the arrival of the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The crowd explodes into cheers as Austin storms down the ramp, his signature scowl firmly in place. He wastes no time, flipping off the crowd in his usual defiant manner before sliding into the ring, ready for action. The fans are fully behind him, chanting his name as he paces back and forth, eyes locked on the entrance. Jim Ross is the first to chime in from the commentary desk. Ladies and gentlemen, you can feel the electricity in the air tonight. Stone Cold Steve Austin is here, and he's got one thing on his mind, making his way to the 14-12 championship. Mr. Feeney, always the voice of reason, adds, but Austin's got a tall task ahead of him tonight in the form of Soda Popinski. And with the anti-boiled egg brigade lurking around, you know they'll do anything to make sure Austin doesn't get a clear path to Majin Buu. Elvira, her voice dripping with intrigue, speculates, speaking of lurking, where do we think President Freddy Krueger is hiding out? He hasn't been seen since Rita Repulsa took over, and I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of him. Before the commentators can dwell too long on Freddy's whereabouts, Soda Popinski's theme blares through the speakers, and the towering Russian boxer strides out, a sneer on his face as he cracks his knuckles. Soda Popinski is all business tonight, and as he makes his way to the ring, it's clear he's here to make a statement. The crowd's cheers quickly turn to boos, but Popinski is unfazed, rolling into the ring and staring down Austin with cold, calculating eyes. Pauly Shore can't resist adding his 2 cents. Yo, bros, Soda Popinski looks like he's ready to turn Austin into a Texas smoothie! But we all know Stone Cold doesn't go down easy. The bell rings, and the match is underway. Right from the start, it's a slugfest, with both men exchanging heavy blows in the center of the ring. Austin's fists fly with the intensity of a man on a mission, but Soda Popinski holds his own, using his superior reach to land stiff jabs to Austin's jaw. The crowd is on their feet as the two titans clash, neither giving an inch. Jim Ross calls the action with his trademark excitement. This is a straight-up brawl, folks. Neither man is backing down, and you can bet Soda Popinski wants to prove he's no pushover tonight. As the brawl continues, the unmistakable presence of the anti-boiled egg brigade becomes apparent. Cliff O'Malley, Doug Funny, and Donkey Lips make their way down the ramp, drawing boos from the crowd. It's clear their only intention is to distract Austin, giving Soda Popinski an edge. The brigade members circle the ring, shouting taunts and trying to get into Austin's head. Mr. Feeney observes, and here comes the anti-boiled egg brigade, right on cue. They can't stand the idea of Austin getting his hands on Majin Buu, and they'll do anything to stop him. Elvira chimes in. They're like vultures, always circling, waiting for the right moment to strike. But Austin's been in plenty of these situations before. Let's see how he handles it. Despite the distraction, Austin keeps his focus on Soda Popinski, who takes advantage of the momentary lapse to deliver a thunderous uppercut that sends Austin staggering back. Popinski follows up with a series of powerful punches, driving Austin into the corner and landing body shots that echo throughout the arena. Austin grits his teeth, absorbing the punishment as the crowd rallies behind him. But just as it seems Soda Popinski might have the upper hand, Austin digs deep and fights back, delivering a brutal kick to Popinski's midsection, followed by a series of right hands that send the Russian reeling. The crowd erupts as Austin builds momentum, feeding off their energy. Pauly Shore, practically bouncing in his seat, exclaims, "Austin's turning it up to 11, dudes! Soda Popinski's about to get stunned!" Austin's rally is cut short as Donkey Lips climbs onto the apron, trying to grab Austin's attention. The referee is distracted, attempting to get Donkey Lips off the apron, which gives Doug Funny an opportunity to slide into the ring, chair in hand. But Austin, ever the veteran, sees it coming. He ducks Doug's wild swing, kicks him in the gut, and delivers a quick stunner that sends Doug bouncing out of the ring, chair and all. The crowd explodes as Austin takes a moment to flip off the fallen Doug Funny, but Soda Popinski seizes the opportunity, charging at Austin with a full head of steam. Austin turns just in time to catch Popinski and, with a swift kick to the gut, drops him with a stunner that reverberates through the arena. The crowd counts along as Austin covers Popinski for the pin. 1, 2, 3! The bell rings and the crowd roars as Austin's music hits. Stone Cold stands tall, flipping off the remaining anti-boiled egg brigade members as they retreat up the ramp, dragging their fallen comrade with them. The referee raises Austin's hand in victory, but the Texas Rattlesnake isn't done. Jim Ross, his voice full of pride, declares, "Stone Cold Steve Austin just sent a message to the anti-boiled egg brigade and to Majin Buu. There's no stopping him on his path to the 14-12 championship." Austin grabs a microphone from ringside, the crowd still buzzing from the victory. He raises the mic to his lips, his voice rough and commanding. "Majin Buu, you're next." And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. The crowd erupts once more as Austin climbs the turnbuckle, tossing back a few beers that have been handed to him from the fans. He downs them with a defiant sneer, raising his fists to the sky as his music blares through the arena. The scene is classic Stone Cold. The Texas Rattlesnake letting everyone know that he's coming for the 14-12 championship. Mr. Feeney, ever the analyst, adds, Stone Cold Steve Austin is on a collision course with Majin Buu, and I don't think anyone can stop him now. Elvira, her voice tinged with excitement, speculates, if Freddy Krueger is out there somewhere, he's got to be watching this and wondering just how much chaos is about to erupt. The stakes have never been higher. As Austin continues to celebrate, the camera pans to the commentary team, each member clearly impressed with what they've just witnessed. The segment ends with the crowd still chanting Austin's name, the energy in the arena at an all-time high, as the show cuts to a commercial break. The scene transitions from the chaos of the arena to the peaceful setting of a bustling farmer's market. The camera captures vibrant stalls overflowing with fresh fruits, vegetables, baked goods, and sweets of every kind. The sun is shining, and there's a sense of calm that contrasts sharply with the usual mayhem of 14-12 wrestling. Grover, the ever-enthusiastic backstage interviewer, is seen walking alongside the imposing figure of Majin Buu. Buu is dressed in his casual attire, a bright pink shirt and loose pants, completely at ease as he surveys the market with wide, curious eyes. In one hand, Buu holds a massive cotton candy that he's already halfway through devouring, and in the other, a basket filled with various sugary treats. Grover, ever the professional, tries to match Buu's leisurely pace, though it's clear he's a bit nervous. He glances at the camera and then up at Buu, who's happily munching on his cotton candy, seemingly oblivious to everything else around him. "Hello, everyone," Grover begins cheerfully, though there's a slight tremor in his voice. Grover here, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing our 14-12 champion, Majin Buu, in a bit of an unusual setting, a farmer's market. Buu, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Buu looks down at Grover, his innocent, childlike grin widening as he swallows a huge bite of cotton candy. Buu likes talking and eating, especially eating. Grover chuckles nervously, trying to keep the conversation on track. So, Buu, you've been the 14-12 champion for some time now, and it's clear that no one has been able to stop you. But before we talk about your future, can you tell us a bit about your life before you joined 14-12 wrestling? Buu's expression shifts slightly, his eyes narrowing as he recalls his past. Before 14-12 wrestling, Buu was a destroyer of worlds. Buu liked to turn people into candy and eat them. It was fun. Ha. Buu's laugh is innocent, but there's an underlying menace that sends a shiver down Grover's spine. Grover, trying to steer the conversation in a safer direction, asks, That's, quite the history, Buu. But now that you're in 14-12 wrestling, what's next for you? What are your plans? Buu stops in front of a stall selling pastries, his eyes lighting up as he grabs a handful of donuts. He pops one into his mouth before responding, his tone becoming more serious. Buu likes fighting almost as much as Buu likes eating. Buu will keep his title and crush anyone who tries to take it from him, especially that bald man, Stone Cold. He thinks he can beat Buu, but Buu is too strong, too hungry. Buu will eat Stone Cold and everyone else. Grover, visibly unsettled by the dark turn in Buu's tone, forces a smile and continues. You certainly sound determined, Buu, but Stone Cold Steve Austin is no easy opponent. How do you plan to deal with him? Buu finishes his donuts and licks his fingers, his grin returning. Buu will do what Buu always does, turn him into candy and eat him. Ha! Buu is unstoppable. No one can beat Buu. As they walk past a cashier at one of the stalls, the vendor, a kindly old man, waves at Buu. That'll be $10 for the pastries, young man. Buu pauses, blinking at the man in confusion. Buu doesn't pay for candy. Buu just eats it. The cashier chuckles, thinking it's a joke. Well, someone has to pay, big guy. Buu's expression darkens, and before Grover can intervene, Buu raises his hand, pointing it at the cashier. You want candy? Buu will make you candy. In an instant, a pink beam shoots from Buu's hand, enveloping the cashier. The man is quickly transformed into a chocolate bar, which falls onto the counter with a thud. Grover gasps, his eyes wide with horror as Boo picks up the chocolate bar and devours it in one bite, grinning from ear to ear. Yum! Tastes like justice, Boo says with a giggle, licking his lips. Grover, now visibly shaken, tries to regain his composure. Well, Boo, it seems you're as powerful as ever. I'm sure Stone Cold will have his hands full when you two finally meet. Boo nods enthusiastically, his earlier dark mood forgotten as he spots a mountain of cotton candy at another stall. Boo will eat Stone Cold, and then Boo will eat all the candy. No one can stop Boo. As Boo rushes over to the cotton candy stand, Grover takes a step back, clearly unnerved by what he's just witnessed. The camera zooms in on Grover's worried expression as he tries to wrap up the interview. Well, folks, there you have it. Our 14-12 champion Majin Buu is as dangerous as ever, and it looks like he's ready to take on anyone who stands in his way. I'm Grover, signing off. Back to you, Jim, Mr. Feeney, Elvira, and Paulie. The camera cuts back to the commentary team, where Jim Ross shakes his head in disbelief. Majin Buu is an absolute monster, turning that poor man into chocolate. What does that say about what he'll do to Stone Cold? Mr. Feeney, trying to remain composed, adds, I think it's safe to say that Stone Cold is in for the fight of his life. Boo is unlike any opponent he's ever faced before. Elvira, with a dark chuckle, comments, well, Stone Cold better watch out, or he might end up as Boo's next snack. But what I want to know is, where's Freddy Krueger in all of this? You'd think he'd want to get a handle on this chaos. Paulie Shore, ever the Joker, adds, yo, if Freddy's smart, he's hiding out somewhere far, far away from Boo. That dude's a one-man wrecking crew. The segment ends with the camera focusing on Boo happily devouring his mountain of cotton candy, oblivious to the terror he's leaving in his wake. The scene then fades out, returning to the ring as the next match is set to begin. The camera cuts back to the arena as the energy ramps up for the next match. The lights dim, and the Divas Championship graphic flashes on the screen. The crowd buzzes with anticipation, knowing that a high-stakes rematch is about to unfold. Daphne Blake stands in the center of the ring, microphone in hand, as she announces the next contest. Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall and is for the 14-12 Wrestling Divas Championship. Nikki Bella's theme music hits, and the crowd reacts with a mix of cheers and boos as the former Divas champion steps onto the stage. Nikki walks down the ramp with purpose, her eyes locked on the ring, fully aware of the challenge that lies ahead. She's dressed in her signature red and black gear, her confidence evident as she climbs into the ring, acknowledging the crowd with a wave before focusing her attention on the entrance. Jim Ross, ever the seasoned commentator, sets the stage. Folks, Nikki Bella is no stranger to championship gold. She's held the Divas Championship before and knows exactly what it takes to get it back. But tonight, she's up against an opponent unlike any other, Android 18. Mr. Feeney nods, adding, Nikki Bella has been at the top of the mountain before, but Android 18's strength and precision make her a formidable champion. This is going to be a true test of Nikki's abilities. The lights in the arena flicker, and the sound of futuristic, high-energy music blares through the speakers. The crowd roars as Android 18, the reigning Divas champion, makes her entrance. She strides down the ramp with a cold, determined expression, her eyes locked on Nikki Bella. Android 18 wears her championship belt around her waist, and she exudes an aura of dominance and power. As she enters the ring, she removes the belt and hands it to the referee, who raises it high for all to see. Elvira chimes in with her dark humor. Android 18 is a machine. Literally. Nikki Bella might have experience, but it's going to take more than that to get past 18's cold, calculated approach. Paulie Shore, always ready with a quip, adds, yo, Nikki's tough, but she's going to have to pull out all the stops if she wants to take down a cyborg, bro. This is going to be epic. The referee checks both competitors and signals for the bell. The match begins, and the tension in the arena is palpable. Nikki Bella and Android 18 circle each other, each looking for an opening. Nikki moves in first, attempting to lock up with Android 18, but the champion's superior strength quickly becomes apparent. Android 18 powers out of Nikki's grasp and shoves her to the mat with ease, drawing a gasp from the crowd. Jim Ross comments, Android 18's strength is undeniable, and Nikki Bella just got a taste of that power. She's going to have to rethink her strategy if she wants to stay in this match. Nikki gets back to her feet, a determined look in her eyes. She knows she needs to change tactics, so she tries to use her agility and speed to her advantage. Nikki ducks under a clothesline from Android 18 and delivers a quick dropkick to the champion's knee, causing 18 to stumble. Sensing an opportunity, Nikki follows up with a series of hard-hitting strikes, targeting Android 18's midsection. Mr. Feeney praises Nikki's adaptability. Smart move by Nikki Bella, going after the legs of Android 18. If she can keep the champion off balance, she might be able to capitalize. But Android 18 quickly regains her composure, catching Nikki's arm mid-strike and reversing it into a powerful suplex. The impact rattles the ring, and Nikki writhes in pain as Android 18 methodically picks her apart. Android 18's expression remains emotionless as she delivers precise, calculated blows, each one designed to wear Nikki down. Elvira marvels at Android 18's prowess. It's almost like she's programmed for this. Every move, every strike is calculated to perfection. Nikki Bella is in serious trouble. Despite the punishment, Nikki refuses to stay down. She digs deep and manages to counter Android 18's next move with a jawbreaker, stunning the champion momentarily. Nikki seizes the opportunity and hits a flurry of forearms, followed by a spinning kick that sends Android 18 reeling into the corner. The crowd rallies behind Nikki as she charges at Android 18, delivering a running clothesline that leaves the champion slumped in the corner. Pauly Shore, excited by Nikki's comeback, shouts, "Yo, Nikki's on fire! She's giving it everything she's got. This could be her moment, bro." Nikki quickly climbs to the second rope, ready to deliver a high-impact move. She leaps off, going for a missile dropkick, but Android 18 swats her out of the air with a devastating backhand, sending Nikki crashing to the mat. The crowd gasps at the sheer power of the move. Jim Ross, in disbelief, exclaims, "Good God Almighty! Android 18 just swatted Nikki Bella out of the air like she was nothing." That's the kind of power we're dealing with here, folks. Sensing the end is near, Android 18 stalks Nikki as she struggles to get to her feet. The champion calmly raises her hand, gathering energy for her finishing move. As Nikki finally stands, Android 18 unleashes a powerful ki blast, striking Nikki square in the chest and sending her crashing to the mat with a thunderous impact. Mr. Feeney solemnly declares, "That might be it. No one gets up from a ki blast like that." Android 18 drops down and hooks the leg, the referee counting the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. The bell rings, signaling Android 18's successful title defense. Daphne Blake raises the microphone announcing, "Here is your winner, and still the 1412 Wrestling Divas champion, Android 18. The crowd erupts in cheers as Android 18 rises to her feet, her expression unchanged as she's handed the championship belt. She raises it high above her head, standing tall as the undisputed champion. Nikki Bella lies motionless on the mat, the reality of her defeat slowly sinking in. Jim Ross praises the champion's performance. Android 18 once again proves why she's the most dominant force in the Divas division. Nikki Bella gave it everything she had, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. As Android 18 celebrates, Nikki Bella slowly pulls herself up using the ropes. There's a moment of tension as Nikki stares at Android 18, but then she walks over, extending her hand. The crowd watches intently as Android 18 regards Nikki's gesture with a cold, calculating gaze. Finally, Android 18 accepts the handshake and the crowd erupts into applause, recognizing the sportsmanship between the two competitors. Nikki nods, acknowledging that on this night, Android 18 was the better competitor. Elvira, impressed by the display, comments, "That's what it's all about. Respect. Nikki Bella might not have won the title tonight, but she's earned the respect of the champion, and that's worth just as much." Pauly Shore, with a grin, adds, "Yo, that was tubular. Props to both these ladies for giving us an epic match." As Android 18 exits the ring, holding her championship high, the camera cuts back to the commentary team, where Jim Ross brings up the question on everyone's mind. With Android 18 firmly in control of the Divas division, you've got to wonder, where is President Freddy Krueger in all of this? It's been total chaos, and yet no word from him. Something's got to give. Mr. Feeney agrees, adding, "Indeed, Jim, his absence is becoming more and more concerning, especially with the chaos Rita Repulsa is unleashing. I hope we get some answers soon." The segment ends with Nikki Bella slowly exiting the ring, acknowledging the crowd's support as she heads up the ramp. Android 18 stands tall on the stage, her championship belt gleaming in the spotlight, a reminder that she's the force to be reckoned with in 14-12 wrestling. The camera fades out as the show prepares to move on to the next segment. The camera cuts back to the ring, where the chaotic energy in the arena signals that it's time for the next match. The crowd buzzes with anticipation as the triple threat hardcore match is announced. Daphne Blake, standing in the center of the ring with a confident smile, raises the microphone. The following contest is a triple threat hardcore match. Introducing first, from the spooky town of Angel Grove, Rito Revolto. The arena darkens as eerie music begins to play. Rito Revolto, the skeletal warrior, makes his entrance, carrying a large bag of tricks and weapons. He struts down the ramp, flexing his bony arms and taunting the crowd. Despite his intimidating appearance, there's a hint of comedic flair in his exaggerated movements. Jim Ross sets the stage. Rito Revolto's no stranger to chaos, folks. He's been a thorn in the side of Norm Peterson for weeks now, and tonight, we might see the end of this strange rivalry. Mr. Feeney adds, "Indeed, JR Rito's been relentless, but you have to wonder what drives a skeleton warrior to feud with a bar regular like Norm. The dynamics in 14-12 wrestling never cease to amaze." As Rito enters the ring, Daphne continues, "And his opponent from Cheers, where everybody knows his name, Norm Peterson!" The crowd erupts in cheers as Norm Peterson emerges, holding a pitcher of beer in one hand and a beer bottle in the other. Norm waves to the crowd with his usual nonchalance, clearly more interested in his drink than the impending battle. He takes a long swig from the bottle before making his way to the ring, his demeanor casual and unbothered. Elvira chuckles. "Norm Peterson might seem like he's here for a good time, but don't let that fool you. When push comes to shove, that man can throw down." Pauly Shore adds, "Yo, Norm's got that beer-fueled strength, bro. He's been ready to take Rito down for a while now. This is going to be epic." Norm steps into the ring, taking another swig of beer as he locks eyes with Rito. There's a tense moment of silence before Daphne introduces the final competitor. And their opponent, the mysterious and ancient protector of the pharaohs, the Egyptian mummy! The lights flicker as the Egyptian mummy makes his entrance, wrapped in ancient bandages and accompanied by the sound of haunting, otherworldly music. The mummy moves slowly but with a purpose, his eyes glowing eerily under the dim lights. As the mummy reaches the ring, the crowd watches in awe, wondering why Commissioner Eric Matthews has chosen such a supernatural being as his bodyguard. Jim Ross can't help but voice the question on everyone's mind. You have to wonder, why on earth did Eric Matthews choose the Egyptian mummy as his bodyguard? There's gotta be more to this than meets the eye. Mr. Feeney speculates, perhaps it's a strategic move, Jim. With all the chaos in 14-12 wrestling, it might take someone or something otherworldly to maintain order. Still, it's an odd choice, to say the least. With all three competitors in the ring, the referee signals for the bell, and the match begins. As expected, chaos ensues immediately. Rito Revolto, ever the trickster, pulls a variety of weapons from his bag and starts swinging wildly at his opponents. Norm Peterson ducks and weaves, narrowly avoiding a flurry of attacks, while the Egyptian mummy seems unfazed by Rito's antics, using his supernatural strength to block and counter every move. Norm, never one to back down from a challenge, takes advantage of Rito's focus on the mummy and smashes his beer bottle over Rito's skull. The bottle shatters, and Rito staggers backward, clearly dazed by the unexpected assault. The crowd erupts in cheers as Norm follows up with a series of punches, his beer-fueled strength giving him an edge. Elvira can't help but laugh. Norm's beer bottle strategy might just pay off. He's not just here for a drink. He's here to win. Pauly Shore adds, totally tubular, bro. Norm's showing us why he's not to be messed with. Meanwhile, the Egyptian mummy seizes the opportunity to join the fray. With a supernatural roar, he grabs Rito by the throat and lifts him high into the air. The crowd gasps as the mummy slams Rito to the mat with incredible force, the impact echoing throughout the arena. Jim Ross, clearly impressed, shouts, "Good God Almighty! The Egyptian mummy just sent Rito straight to the underworld with that slam." Not one to be outdone, Norm quickly teams up with the mummy, recognizing the need to take down the chaotic skeleton warrior. The unlikely duo begins to double-team Rito, with Norm delivering a series of heavy strikes while the mummy uses his supernatural powers to keep Rito pinned down. As Rito tries to fight back, Norm delivers the final blow, smashing another beer bottle over Rito's head. The impact is enough to knock Rito out cold, and Norm wastes no time covering him for the pin. The referee drops to the mat and counts 1, 2, 3. Norm Peterson wins. Daphne Blake raises the microphone, announcing, "Here is your winner, Norm Peterson." The crowd erupts in cheers as Norm stands tall, celebrating his victory with another swig of beer. The Egyptian mummy, having completed his task, silently exits the ring, leaving the audience to wonder about his true purpose in 1412 wrestling. Jim Ross recaps the match. Norm Peterson and the Egyptian mummy might be the most unlikely team we've ever seen, but they got the job done tonight. Rito Revolto gave it his all, but it just wasn't enough. Mr. Feeney nods. Norm's been on a roll lately, and with the mummy's help, he's put an end to this rivalry with Rito. But I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of the mummy's involvement in 1412 wrestling. Elvira adds, and let's not forget, the question of why the mummy is Eric Matthews' bodyguard still looms large. There's more to this story, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it unfolds. The segment ends with Norm exiting the ring, waving to the crowd as he heads up the ramp. The camera lingers on the Egyptian mummy, who stands at the top of the stage, his glowing eyes hinting at the mysteries yet to come. The show then transitions to the next segment, leaving the audience buzzing with excitement. The camera cuts to the ring where the atmosphere is already electric as the crowd anticipates the upcoming Stable Championship match. The lights dim, and Daphne Blake steps into the center of the ring, microphone in hand, ready to make the introductions. The following contest is a Stable Championship match, Daphne announces, her voice ringing out over the excited crowd. Introducing first the challengers. From Bedrock, it's Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble, Wilma Flintstone, Betty Rubble, and their mammoth vacuum cleaner. The arena lights up with a prehistoric flair as the Flintstones' theme music begins to play. Fred and Barney lead the way, proudly swinging their large wooden clubs, followed by Wilma and Betty, who wield stone frying pans with determined expressions. Their trusty mammoth vacuum cleaner trails behind, huffing and puffing as it tries to keep up. The crowd, a mix of nostalgia and excitement, gives the Flintstones a warm reception as they make their way to the ring, ready to challenge for the titles. Jim Ross chimes in with his commentary. This is a blast from the past, folks. The Flintstones might be from a different era, but they're here tonight to show they can hang with the best of them. Mr. Feeney adds, don't underestimate these Bedrock natives, JR. They've got their own brand of caveman ingenuity that could pose a real threat to the champions tonight. As the Flintstones enter the ring, Daphne continues. And their opponents, the reigning and defending 1412 wrestling stable champions, Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Joey Tribbiani. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme music hits, and the crowd erupts in cheers as the four brothers emerge from the entrance, each holding their signature weapons. Joey Tribbiani, wearing his championship belt proudly around his waist, follows behind with a confident swagger, flashing his trademark smile to the fans. The Turtles and Joey make their way down the ramp, high-fiving fans as they approach the ring. Elvira comments, these guys have been on a roll lately, and with Joey Tribbiani on their side, they've got a winning combination of skill and charm. But tonight's match is going to test every ounce of that teamwork. Pauly Shore adds, yo, bro, the Turtles and Joey are like, totally in sync, but let's see if they can handle the Flintstones and their prehistoric power. The champions enter the ring, and the atmosphere is charged with anticipation as the two teams stare each other down. The referee holds up the stable championship belts, signaling what's at stake. As the bell rings, the match begins with an explosion of action. The Flintstones waste no time, using their prehistoric weapons to gain an early advantage. Fred and Barney swing their clubs wildly, catching Raphael and Michelangelo off guard. Meanwhile, Wilma and Betty use their stone frying pans to keep Leonardo and Donatello at bay. The mammoth vacuum cleaner proves to be a surprisingly effective weapon, as it charges at Joey Tribbiani, knocking him into the ropes with its powerful suction. Jim Ross calls the action, "The Flintstones are bringing the heat early on. They're using every trick in the book, and it's paying off." Mr. Feeney, ever the strategist, adds, "But it's still early, JR. The Turtles and Joey are resilient, and they've got the experience to turn this around." Just as it seems like the Flintstones have the upper hand, the Turtles start to rally. Leonardo leads the charge, his katana slicing through the air with precision as he counters Fred's club swings. Raphael, with his fierce attitude, takes on Barney, disarming him and landing a series of powerful strikes. Donatello uses his bow staff to keep Wilma and Betty at a distance, while Michelangelo flips over the mammoth vacuum cleaner, confusing the prehistoric beast and causing it to tumble out of the ring. The crowd roars as the champions regain control, their teamwork proving too strong for the Flintstones' initial onslaught. Joey Tribbiani, having recovered from his earlier encounter with the vacuum cleaner, tags in and delivers a flurry of punches to Fred, sending him reeling into the corner. The Turtles, now fully in sync, begin to dominate, taking down each member of the Flintstones one by one. But just as it looks like the champions are about to seal the victory, the arena lights suddenly flicker and go dark. A moment of confusion ensues, and when the lights come back on, Chandler Bing is standing on the entrance ramp, his presence immediately drawing the attention of the crowd and everyone in the ring. Jim Ross exclaims, "Oh my God, it's Chandler Bing! What's he doing here? He turned on Joey months ago, and now he's back." Mr. Feeney adds with concern, "This can't be good. Chandler's been with the Foot Clan, and his relationship with Joey and Leonardo is complicated, to say the least." Chandler slowly makes his way to the ring, his eyes locked on Joey and Leonardo. The tension is palpable as Leonardo steps forward, his eyes narrowing at the sight of Chandler. There's a brief, tense standoff as the two former friends glare at each other. The crowd is on the edge of their seats, sensing the history and unresolved issues between them. But before anything can happen between Leonardo and Chandler, Chandler suddenly lunges at Joey, delivering a low blow that sends Joey crashing to the mat. The crowd erupts in boos as Chandler stands over Joey, his face twisted with a mix of anger and regret. Jim Ross can't believe what he's seeing. Chandler Bing just took out his former best friend. "This is despicable," Elvira adds. That's cold, even for Chandler. But why? What's his endgame here? With Joey down, the Flintstones seize the opportunity. Fred and Barney quickly overpower the distracted Turtles, knocking them out of the ring. Wilma and Betty help Joey to his feet, only to throw him back down to the mat, setting him up for the finishing blow. Fred climbs to the top rope, a rare sight for the caveman, and leaps off with a devastating flying club smash, landing squarely on Joey's chest. The referee counts the pin. 1, 2, 3. The Flintstones win. Daphne Blake raises the microphone, announcing, "Here are your winners, and new 1412 Wrestling Stable champions, the Flintstones!" The crowd is in shock as the Flintstones celebrate their victory, raising the stable championship belts high. Chandler Bing, satisfied with the chaos he's caused, smirks as he backs away from the ring, leaving the Turtles and Joey to recover from the betrayal. Jim Ross sums up the moment. "I don't believe what we've just witnessed. Chandler Bing has betrayed Joey once again, costing them the stable championships. The Flintstones are the new champions, but the real story here is the fallout between Chandler, Joey, and Leonardo." Mr. Feeney adds, "This betrayal is going to have long-lasting effects. There's no way this is the end of the story between these former friends. Things are only going to get more intense from here." Elvira, ever the voice of dark humor, quips, "Chandler's got a lot of explaining to do, but one thing's for sure, he's made some powerful enemies tonight." As the segment ends, the camera captures the look of betrayal on Joey's face, the fury in Leonardo's eyes, and the smug satisfaction on Chandler's. The Flintstones celebrate their unlikely victory as the new stable champions, while the audience is left wondering what's next for the fractured relationships in 1412 wrestling. The show then cuts to a commercial break, leaving viewers eager for the next chapter in this unfolding drama. The scene transitions backstage to Grover, who is standing nervously in front of a darkened, industrial backdrop, the unmistakable aura of the Foot Clan looming behind him. The tension in the air is palpable as the camera zooms in on Grover, who's holding a microphone with a slightly trembling hand. Hello, everyone! Grover here, backstage with the Foot Clan, he starts, his voice wavering a bit. And, I'm joined by Chandler Bing, Shredder, and Krang. They've had a lot to say and do tonight, so, let's get right to it. The camera pans to Chandler Bing, who stands with a cold, determined expression, arms crossed, his eyes filled with a simmering rage. Shredder, in his full menacing armor, looms behind him with a fierce gaze, while Krang, in his mechanical body, chuckles sinisterly to himself. Grover, trying to keep his composure, begins, "Chandler, you shocked everyone tonight with your attack on Joey Tribbiani. You two used to be best friends. What happened?" Chandler smirks, his voice dripping with sarcasm and bitterness as he responds. "What happened, Grover? Joey Tribbiani happened. Let's get one thing straight. I carried that friendship. For years, I was the one who held us together, the one who cleaned up Joey's messes, the one who made sure he didn't completely screw up his life. And how does he repay me? By being the same dumb, clueless moron he's always been." Chandler's eyes narrow, the anger in his voice intensifying. Joey turned his back on me long before I ever joined the Foot Clan. He chose the Turtles over me, and that was the last straw. I'm done playing second fiddle to a guy who can't even spell fiddle. Tonight, I proved that I don't need Joey, and I sure as hell don't need anyone else's approval. Joey, if you're listening, and I know you are, you better stay out of my way from now on, because next time, I won't just leave you lying in the ring. I'll make sure you stay down for good. The intensity of Chandler's words hangs in the air as Grover swallows nervously, turning his attention to Shredder. Shredder, tonight we saw Leonardo back in action with the Turtles. After his brief time in the Foot Clan, what do you have to say about his return to his brothers?" Shredder's eyes flash with fury as he steps forward, his voice deep and menacing. "Leonardo was a fool to betray the Foot Clan. I offered him power, strength, and a place among the most feared warriors in the world. But he threw it all away for what? Loyalty? Family? The Foot Clan is the only family that matters, and by turning his back on us, Leonardo has made himself our enemy. He will regret the day he crossed me, and I will not rest until I've taken everything from him, his brothers, his honor, and his life." Grover shudders at Shredder's words, quickly moving on to safer territory. "Now, Shredder, you've been dominating the laser gun surfing battle championship. What's next for you as the champion?" Shredder's demeanor shifts slightly as a twisted smile crosses his face. "The laser gun surfing battle championship is just the beginning. I will continue to dominate, to crush anyone who dares to challenge me. And when I'm done, I'll bring the full force of the Foot Clan down on this entire organization. No one will be safe from our wrath. The Turtles, Joey Tribbiani, Stone Cold Steve Austin, everyone will bow before Shredder or they will be destroyed." Grover, visibly sweating now, tries to lighten the mood by turning to Krang. "And, Krang, I hear you've been enjoying some games of scrimmage recently?" Krang, who has been chuckling quietly to himself, suddenly bursts into full maniacal laughter. "Scrimmage? Oh, Grover, you have no idea. Playing a good game of scrimmage is one of the few joys I have in this miserable dimension. The thrill of competition, the taste of victory, the look of despair on my opponents' faces when they realize they're completely outmatched. It's delicious. You see, Grover, when you're as brilliant as I am, you need something to keep the mind sharp. Scrimmage does that for me. But don't think for a second that I'm not focused on the bigger picture. I'm always plotting, always scheming, and soon I'll have everything I need to take control of 1412 wrestling and the world." Grover nods quickly, eager to wrap up the interview before things get even more intense. Well, there you have it, folks. The Foot Clan is as dangerous as ever, and they're not planning on slowing down anytime soon. Back to you in the ring. As the camera pulls back, Chandler, Shredder, and Krang exchange sinister glances, their unified presence a looming threat over the entire 1412 wrestling roster. The segment ends with a close-up of Chandler's cold, calculating expression, a reminder to everyone watching that the Foot Clan is far from done causing chaos. Segment 9, Singles Match. The camera cuts backstage to Grover, standing next to Dave Meltzer, who is adjusting his tie with a look of disdain on his face. Grover, ever the professional, tries to maintain his cheerful demeanor despite Meltzer's clear irritation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Grover begins, "I'm here with wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer, who's about to step into the ring with New Jack. Dave, you've been very vocal about your thoughts on New Jack's wrestling style. Care to elaborate?" Meltzer scoffs, clearly unimpressed with the task ahead of him. "Wrestling style? New Jack doesn't have a style, Grover. He's not a wrestler. He's a brawler, a thug with a shopping cart full of weapons. His matches are nothing more than glorified street fights with no rhyme or reason. I've never given him a good star rating because there's nothing to rate. It's just chaos, and there's no place for that in professional wrestling." Grover hesitates but continues. "But Dave, New Jack has a reputation for being one of the most dangerous competitors in the ring. Aren't you concerned about your safety tonight?" Meltzer waves off the question with a dismissive hand. "Concerned? Please. New Jack can't hurt me with his antics. I'm here to show everyone what real wrestling should look like, even if it means stepping into the ring with a guy who doesn't know the first thing about the craft. After I'm done with him, maybe he'll finally understand why he never gets above 2 stars. Grover looks a bit unsettled by Meltzer's confidence but nods, wrapping up the interview. Well, there you have it, folks. Dave Meltzer is ready to take on New Jack and show us what real wrestling is all about. Back to the ring. The camera cuts to the arena, where New Jack's theme music hits and the crowd erupts in cheers. New Jack appears at the top of the ramp, pushing his infamous shopping cart full of weapons. Kendo sticks, trash cans, steel chairs, and other assorted instruments of destruction clatter as he makes his way to the ring, a menacing grin on his face. The audience buzzes with anticipation, knowing that chaos is about to ensue. In the ring, Dave Meltzer waits, looking slightly uneasy as New Jack rolls his cart to the ringside area. The bell rings, and Meltzer tries to maintain his composure, but it's clear he's out of his element. New Jack wastes no time, immediately grabbing a kendo stick and charging at Meltzer, who barely manages to duck out of the way. Jim Ross, his voice filled with excitement, shouts, "Here we go!" New Jack's not wasting any time, and Meltzer better be ready for the fight of his life. Meltzer, trying to keep his distance, starts to critique New Jack's every move, yelling things like, "That's a sloppy swing!" and "No technique at all!" But New Jack isn't listening. He's fully in his element, swinging the kendo stick wildly, eventually catching Meltzer in the ribs with a sickening thud. Meltzer crumples to the mat, clutching his side as New Jack throws the kendo stick aside, only to reach for a trash can. Elvira, watching the chaos unfold, comments, "I don't think Meltzer's star ratings are going to help him here. New Jack is an absolute maniac." New Jack slams the trash can over Meltzer's head, and the wrestling journalist stumbles around the ring, dazed. New Jack then pulls a steel chair from his cart and unfolds it in the center of the ring. With a wicked grin, he grabs Meltzer and sets him up for a suplex, driving him back first onto the chair. The crowd roars in approval as Meltzer writhes in pain. Meltzer, barely able to catch his breath, continues to shout criticisms between gasps. This is exactly what's wrong with wrestling. But his words fall on deaf ears as New Jack pulls out a table from beneath the ring and sets it up, much to the delight of the audience. Mr. Feeney, ever the voice of reason, adds, "I think Dave Meltzer is beginning to realize that this isn't a match he can critique his way out of. New Jack is in complete control, and I don't see any way out for Meltzer." New Jack hoists Meltzer onto his shoulders, signaling for his finisher. The crowd goes wild as New Jack climbs to the top rope, dragging Meltzer with him. With a devilish grin, New Jack leaps off, driving Meltzer through the table with a 187. The impact is brutal. splinters flying everywhere as the table collapses under their combined weight. The referee counts the pinfall, but it's merely a formality. New Jack easily secures the 3 count, and the bell rings to signal his victory. The crowd erupts in cheers as New Jack stands tall, grabbing a microphone from ringside. Elvira, shaking her head in amazement, remarks, "New Jack just took Dave Meltzer to the extreme. There's no one like him in 1412 wrestling." Mr. Feeney agrees. "And I don't think anyone is brave enough to step into the ring with New Jack after that. He's a force to be reckoned with. No doubt about it." New Jack, still breathing heavily from the match, looks around at the crowd, then down at Meltzer's broken body. He raises the microphone to his lips, his voice low and menacing. "Anybody else got something to say? Anybody else want to step up and try me? I'm right here, and I'm ready to put anyone down. Step up or shut up." With that, New Jack drops the microphone, and his theme music blares through the arena once more. He exits the ring, leaving Meltzer in a heap among the shattered remnants of the table. The crowd continues to cheer as New Jack pushes his shopping cart back up the ramp, victorious and more dangerous than ever. As the camera cuts back to the commentary team, the scene shifts to the next segment, but the image of New Jack standing tall after his destructive victory lingers in the minds of the audience. The camera cuts to the commentary booth, where Mr. Feeney, Jim Ross, Elvira, and Pauly Shore are joined by the reigning competitive eating champion, Heifer Wolf. Heifer, still wearing his championship belt proudly around his ample waist, takes a seat and puts on a headset, greeting the commentators with his usual jovial demeanor. "Welcome, Heifer! We're thrilled to have the reigning competitive eating champion joining us," Mr. Feeney says with a nod. "Heifer, you've seen a lot of wild matches in your time, but this one's going to be something else," Jim Ross adds. Heifer grins widely. "Oh yeah, I've got my eyes on both of these guys, but let's be honest, who can eat more than me?" Pauly Shore, as enthusiastic as ever, chimes in. "Yo, Heifer, you've got some tough competition tonight, bro. But I gotta say, you're the king of chowing down, dude." The camera shifts to the ring, where a long banquet table has been set up, loaded with mountains of food. Pizzas, burgers, hot dogs, chicken wings, and various other greasy delights. The crowd is buzzing with excitement as the ring announcer steps forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is a timed eating challenge to determine the #1 contender for the competitive eating championship. Introducing first, weighing in at 500 pounds of pure eating machine, the legend of the forest, Cocaine Bear." The arena lights flicker, and a bear of immense size lumbers down the ramp, eyes wide and wild, sniffing the air with intense focus. The crowd erupts in a mix of cheers and laughter as Cocaine Bear barrels into the ring, ready to devour everything in sight. And his opponent, the announcer continues, the moonlit maestro of fast food, the smoothest eater under the stars, Mac Tonight! The lights dim as the jazzy, smooth tones of Mac Tonight's theme music fill the arena. Mac Tonight, with his crescent moon head shining under the lights, moonwalks his way to the ring, twirling and spinning as the crowd claps along. He struts confidently up to the banquet table, ready to prove he's the coolest eater in the game. As both competitors take their places at the table, the referee steps forward, holding a stopwatch. This is a 10-minute eating challenge. The competitor who consumes the most food within the time limit will be declared the winner and will earn a shot at the competitive eating championship. "Look at these two, JR, Heifer Wolf says, eyeing the competitors. They think they've got what it takes, but they don't know what they're in for." Jim Ross responds, "Well, Heifer, Cocaine Bear looks ready to tear into this challenge, literally. But don't count out Mac Tonight. He's got the moves, and sometimes that's all you need." The bell rings, and the eating contest begins. Cocaine Bear immediately dives into the pile of food with reckless abandon, chomping down on burgers and pizzas with wild intensity. Food flies everywhere as the bear tears through the table, sending plates and condiments scattering across the ring. Meanwhile, Mac Tonight takes a more methodical approach. With smooth jazz moves, he picks up a burger, spins it in the air, and catches it in his mouth, chewing with a grin as the crowd cheers. He glides from plate to plate, eating with a rhythm that seems almost hypnotic. "Look at Mac Tonight go, Heifer!" Elvira exclaims. He's making this look like a dance routine. Heifer chuckles. He's got the moves, but I don't know if that's going to help him eat more than Cocaine Bear. That bear's like a vacuum cleaner. As the clock ticks down, Cocaine Bear continues to devour everything in sight. But Mac tonight keeps up, his smooth style allowing him to consume large amounts of food without losing his cool. The crowd is on the edge of their seats, watching as the two competitors go head-to-head. With only a minute left, it looks like Cocaine Bear has the upper hand, but Mac tonight starts to make a comeback, speeding up his pace. He grabs a plate of chicken wings and begins scarfing them down. But suddenly he starts to choke. Oh! It looks like Mac tonight is in trouble. Pauly Shore yells, "Bro, this could be bad!" Mac tonight coughs and sputters, his face turning red as he struggles to dislodge the chicken wing from his throat. The referee rushes over, but before he can intervene, Cocaine Bear takes advantage of the distraction, grabbing the remaining food and devouring it with a final, triumphant roar. The bell rings, and the referee signals the end of the match. Cocaine Bear, food smeared all over his face, stands tall and victorious as the referee raises his paw in victory. The winner and new #1 contender for the competitive eating championship, Cocaine Bear. The crowd erupts in cheers as Cocaine Bear does a victory lap around the ring, roaring in triumph. Jim Ross, watching the scene unfold, says, "Cocaine Bear is on his way to a title shot, but something tells me we haven't seen the last of Mac tonight." Mac tonight, recovering from his near-choking incident, stumbles to his feet, clearly disappointed. He grabs a microphone and, still catching his breath, vows, "This isn't over, Bear. I'll get another shot, and when I do, you better believe I'm taking that title." Pauly Shore, grinning from ear to ear, adds, "Bro, that was totally insane. Cocaine Bear is unstoppable." Heifer Wolf, looking slightly concerned, nods. "I'm gonna have to step up my game. That bear's hungry, and not just for food." The segment ends with Cocaine Bear celebrating in the ring, while Mac tonight glares from the corner, determined to redeem himself. The camera fades out as the commentators hype up the upcoming main event, leaving the audience buzzing with excitement. The camera cuts backstage to Grover, who is eagerly standing with his microphone, ready to interview the 4 competitors. First up is Kurgan, the towering and intimidating figure flanked by the sinister Jackal. Grover nervously asks about Kurgan's strategy for the match, but before the question is fully out, the Jackal interjects with a twisted grin, proclaiming that Kurgan doesn't need strategy, only raw power. "Kurgan is the embodiment of destruction," Jackal hisses, "and tonight, these mere mortals will learn what it means to stand in the ring with a true beast." Next, Grover turns to Dan Connor, who is accompanied by his wife, Roseanne. Dan's demeanor is more relaxed, but there's a seriousness in his eyes. "I've faced tougher things than these guys," Dan says, his voice steady. "But tonight, I'm not just fighting for me, I'm fighting for my family. And you can bet that when it's all said and done, I'll be the one left standing." Roseanne chimes in with her trademark wit, "And if anyone gets too close to Dan, they'll have to answer to me." Grover then moves on to Big Jim Rennie, who stands confidently, adjusting his suit jacket with an air of self-importance. "This match is nothing more than a formality," Rennie declares smugly. "I've crushed bigger obstacles than these so-called competitors. When I win tonight, it will just be another step towards the power I rightfully deserve." Finally, Grover interviews Skeeter Valentine, the unlikely underdog of the match. Skeeter bounces on his feet, full of energy and optimism. "This is gonna be a blast," he exclaims. "I might be the biggest or the toughest, but I've got heart, and that's what counts. I'm ready to give it my all, and maybe, just maybe, I'll surprise everyone." The match begins with Kurgan immediately taking control, using his massive size and strength to overpower the others. Dan Connor, though more measured in his approach, holds his own, landing solid punches on both Big Jim and Skeeter whenever they come close. Big Jim, ever the opportunist, tries to stay out of Kurgan's reach, instead focusing on wearing down Dan and Skeeter with calculated strikes. Skeeter, meanwhile, darts around the ring, using his speed to avoid the heavier hits, though he struggles to make any real impact. As the battle rages on, Kurgan's dominance becomes clear. He throws Big Jim into the corner, sending Skeeter sprawling with a single massive blow. Dan Connor, seeing his chance, squares up with Kurgan, trading blows in the center of the ring. The crowd rallies behind Dan, but just as he starts to gain the upper hand, chaos erupts. An army of local pavers, wearing reflective vests and wielding tools, storm the ring, targeting Dan Connor with brutal efficiency. They swarm him, delivering vicious blows with shovels and sledgehammers, taking him to the mat in a brutal ambush. Roseanne screams from ringside, trying to get into the ring to help Dan, but the pavers block her path, continuing their assault. The Jackal laughs maniacally, clearly pleased with the chaos, while Kurgan stands back, watching the carnage with cold indifference. Big Jim seizes the opportunity to roll out of the ring, avoiding the brawl altogether, while Skeeter tries to fend off a few of the pavers, though his efforts are in vain. Finally, security rushes in to break up the brawl, dragging the pavers away and restoring some semblance of order. But the damage is done. Dan Connor is left battered and barely conscious in the ring. Kurgan, seeing his chance, moves in for the kill, hoisting Dan up and delivering a devastating chokeslam that shakes the ring. With a sadistic grin, Kurgan pins Dan for the 3 count, securing the victory. As Kurgan and the Jackal celebrate in the ring, Roseanne rushes to Dan's side, helping him up as he struggles to regain his bearings. Big Jim and Skeeter both look on from the outside, their expressions a mix of relief and frustration. The commentators speculate on who could have orchestrated the paver ambush, with Mr. Feeney suggesting that it might have been a personal attack on Dan Connor, while Jim Ross wonders if there's a larger conspiracy at play. Elvira notes that in 1412 wrestling, nothing is ever as simple as it seems, and Pauly Shore, still buzzing with energy, adds that tonight's chaos is just a taste of what's to come. The segment ends with Kurgan standing tall, his victory overshadowed by the mysterious and brutal attack on Dan Connor, leaving the audience with more questions than answers as the show continues. As the show returns from commercial break, the commentary team is seated at ringside, with Mr. Feeney leading the discussion. Mr. Feeney, always the professional, begins, "Welcome back, folks. Before we move on to the next match, we'd like to take a moment to promote the refreshing taste of Crystal Pepsi, a drink that..." Suddenly, the sound of metal crunching and debris flying interrupts Mr. Feeney mid-sentence. The camera quickly shifts to the side of the arena, where a massive bulldozer smashes through the wall, sending chunks of concrete and dust everywhere. The crowd erupts in a mixture of shock and excitement as Scott Steiner, clad in his signature chainmail headdress, drives the bulldozer straight through the barricade. His rabid tigers, snarling and pacing menacingly, flank him on either side. Jim Ross, his voice filled with disbelief, exclaims, "Good God Almighty! Scott Steiner just crashed a bulldozer through the wall! What in the hell is going on here?" Elvira, always amused by chaos, adds, "I guess we can forget about Crystal Pepsi because Big Papa Pump has something to say." The bulldozer comes to a halt near the ring, and Steiner climbs down, grabbing a microphone as the crowd buzzes with anticipation. His tigers continue to prowl around him, keeping the audience at a distance. Steiner wastes no time launching into a scathing tirade. "Listen up, you pencil-neck geeks!" Steiner roars, his voice echoing throughout the arena. "I've had it up to here with these so-called tough guys, like those pathetic pavers who jumped Dan Connor earlier tonight. You think you're real men, hiding behind your shovels and sledgehammers? You're nothing but a bunch of cowards." The crowd boos, some in support of Dan Connor, while others cheer Steiner's aggressive stance. Steiner paces around, flexing his muscles and pointing at the camera. "And as for you, Dan Connor," Steiner continues, his tone dripping with contempt, "you think you're a big shot just because you can take a beating from a bunch of blue-collar nobodies? Well, let me tell you something, fat boy. I'm the real deal. And when I'm done with you, you'll be crawling back to your wife, begging for her to comfort you." The crowd reacts with a mix of shock and outrage as Steiner leans into the microphone, his voice lowering to a threatening growl. "But don't worry, Dan. If you're too beat up to keep your wife satisfied, Big Papa Pump's got all the freaks lined up, and I'll be more than happy to show her what a real man's all about." The arena erupts with boos, the crowd clearly incensed by Steiner's comments. Jim Ross, appalled, tries to regain some control, shouting into his microphone, "That's enough, Steiner! You've gone too far this time. Elvira, ever the provocateur, adds with a wicked grin. Well, it wouldn't be 14-12 wrestling without some serious drama, would it? Polly Shore, trying to lighten the mood, chimes in. Yo, dude, maybe we should send some Crystal Pepsi to Roseanne to calm her down after this, because things are getting way too gnarly. Steiner, basking in the chaos he's created, drops the microphone with a smirk and climbs back onto the bulldozer. His tigers follow him, and as he drives back through the hole he created, the crowd continues to react with a mix of shock, boos, and scattered cheers from his loyal fanbase. The commentary team is left stunned, struggling to find the words to sum up the insanity they've just witnessed. Mr. Feeney, attempting to bring some normalcy back, finally speaks. Folks, we apologize for that outburst from Scott Steiner. It seems things have taken a very unpredictable turn tonight, and I can only imagine what's going through Dan Connor's mind right now. Jim Ross adds, Steiner's crossed a line here, and you can bet Dan Connor isn't going to take this lying down. This rivalry just got a whole lot more personal. Elvira, clearly entertained by the spectacle, quips, I think we can all agree that things are heating up in 14-12 wrestling, and Steiner just threw gasoline on the fire. Polly Shore, still trying to process what just happened, laughs nervously. Bro, that was intense. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm all in. As the dust settles and the commentary team tries to move on, the tension in the arena remains high, with everyone eagerly anticipating what Dan Connor's response will be to Steiner's brazen challenge and threats. The scene transitions backstage, capturing the anti-boiled egg brigade huddled together, clearly up to no good. Bars, the leader of the group, is flanked by his motley crew of misfits. Donkey Lips, Doug Funny, Cliff O'Malley, BB Rexha, Jackie Chan, Spopovich, Lola Bunny, Earl Sinclair, Sugar Shane Helms, and Akeem the African Dream. They're whispering and chuckling among themselves, their eyes gleaming with mischief as they stroll through the parking lot of the arena. Suddenly, Donkey Lips stops in his tracks, pointing excitedly at something through a window. Yo, look at that! He exclaims. The camera zooms in to reveal what he's spotted, a carton of chocolate ice cream sitting on the dashboard of Steve Austin's truck. Doug Funny, always eager to stir up trouble, grins. Chocolate ice cream, huh? You know, Austin's gotta be saving that for later. Imagine the look on his face when he finds out what we're about to do. Bars steps forward, his eyes narrowing as he stares at the truck. That bald-headed son of a gun thinks he can take down the anti-boiled egg brigade? Well, we're about to send him a message he'll never forget. Cliff O'Malley chimes in, practically vibrating with excitement. Oh man, this is gonna be epic! Let's light this sucker up! Without hesitation, Bars pulls out a can of gasoline from seemingly nowhere, while Spopovich grabs a few matches. The rest of the brigade surrounds the truck, blocking it from view as they begin dousing it in gasoline. Baby Rexha looks on, laughing with wicked delight, while Jackie Chan, clearly uneasy about the whole thing, keeps glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to catch them. Guys, are we sure about this? Jackie asks, but his concern is ignored as the brigade continues their work. Lola Bunny, never one to miss out on a prank, grabs the carton of ice cream from the dashboard, waving it tauntingly at the camera before handing it to Bars. This is what happens when you mess with the brigade, Bars declares, holding the ice cream up as if it were a trophy. He then nods to Spopovich, who strikes a match and tosses it onto the truck. Within seconds, the gasoline catches fire and the flames rapidly engulf Steve Austin's truck. The brigade watches with twisted satisfaction as the vehicle becomes a blazing inferno, the carton of ice cream melting in the intense heat. Earl Sinclair, ever the loudmouth, steps forward and begins to cut a scathing promo, his voice booming over the crackling of the flames. You know, I've had it up to here with all these so-called heroes in 14-12 wrestling. But you know who really grinds my gears? That overrated wannabe action star Chris Pratt. This guy thinks he's some kind of Hollywood hotshot, but the only thing he's good at is ruining perfectly good franchises. Just like this truck, his career is going up in flames. Sugar Shane Helms, never one to miss out on the action, adds, and don't even get me started on that whole Mario thing. Who let this guy voice one of the most iconic characters of all time? It's a disgrace. Just like we're going to disgrace Austin in the ring, we're coming for you too, Pratt. Akeem the African Dream steps forward, laughing maniacally. You hear that, Pratt? You think you're safe in your little Hollywood bubble? Well, the Anti-Boiled Egg Brigade is coming for you next, brother, and there ain't no amount of CGI that's gonna save you. The camera pulls back to show the entire brigade standing in front of the burning truck, their faces lit by the eerie orange glow of the flames. Bars, now holding the melted ice cream carton, crushes it in his hand and tosses it into the fire. This is just the beginning, Austin. Bars growls, staring directly into the camera. You can stun all the jabronis you want, but the Anti-Boiled Egg Brigade will always be one step ahead. And as for Chris Pratt, consider this a warning. We're coming for you, and when we do, your precious career will be left in ashes. Just like this truck. As the flames continue to roar, the camera cuts back to the commentary team at ringside, who are absolutely stunned by what they've just witnessed. Mr. Feeney, visibly shaken, says, I can't believe what we just saw. They set Steve Austin's truck on fire. That's criminal behavior. Jim Ross, his voice filled with disbelief, adds, this is beyond anything I've ever seen in all my years. The Anti-Boiled Egg Brigade has crossed a line, and Steve Austin is not going to take this lying down. Elvira, always one for chaos, quips, well, it looks like the brigade is cooking up more than just trouble tonight. I'm just glad I'm not Chris Pratt right now. Pauly Shore, still trying to process the madness, finally manages to say, bro, that was totally insane. They just burned down Austin's truck, and now they're gunning for Chris Pratt? This is getting way out of control. As the camera shows the smoldering remains of Steve Austin's truck one last time, the scene fades out, leaving the audience wondering just how far the Anti-Boiled Egg Brigade is willing to go, and what Steve Austin's response will be when he finds out. The show returns from commercial break to the sound of Gary Busey's maniacal laughter, echoing through the arena. He and the Iron Sheik roll into view, each driving customized, absurdly modified golf carts. Both vehicles are adorned with neon lights and ridiculous decals, with Busey's cart sporting a giant rubber chicken hood ornament, and Sheik's painted with Iran #1 in bold lettering. They're joined by the entire golf cart stable, each member also in their own smoking, sputtering golf carts. A plume of smoke rises into the air as they all puff on massive joints, waving to the crowd like deranged parade performers. The audience's jeers and laughter mix into a chaotic cacophony as the stable circles the ring like a motorized gang of lunatics. Jim Ross, incredulous, bellows, by God, what on earth am I even watching? Is this a wrestling match or a demolition derby? Elvira giggles, I don't know, but I'm here for it. Look at those golf carts. They're like clown cars on steroids. Next, Majin Buu's theme hits, and the reigning 14-12 champion makes his entrance, accompanied by ominous purple smoke and a trail of floating candy. He devours a chocolate bar mid-walk and spits the wrapper at a cameraman before holding up the 14-12 championship belt with a wicked grin. Yo, bras! Majin Buu is bringing the sugar and the swagger. That dude's got the energy to blast everyone off the map. The crowd erupts into cheers as Dennis Rodman's music begins, and the flamboyant basketball icon strides to the ring, twirling a steel chair over his head like it's a baton. His entrance oozes chaotic energy as he leaps into the ring and starts spinning like a madman, daring the golf cart stable to step up. Mr. Feeney shakes his head. If unpredictability were a currency, Dennis Rodman would be a billionaire. The cheers grow louder as Hulk Hogan's iconic theme blares through the speakers. Hogan marches to the ring with his usual mix of intensity and theatrics, flexing for the crowd and tearing his shirt. The crowd chants, Hogan, Hogan, as he slides into the ring, locking eyes with the Iron Sheik. Jim Ross, decades of animosity are about to boil over again. Hogan and the Sheik, these two have unfinished business. Finally, the glass shatters, and Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance music hits like a shotgun blast. The Texas Rattlesnake storms out to a deafening ovation, walking with purpose and glaring daggers at Majin Buu. Austin stops briefly to chug a beer handed to him by a fan before stepping into the ring, his eyes never leaving Buu's. The bell rings, and instant chaos erupts. Stone Cold charges straight at Majin Buu, and the two immediately begin trading heavy blows, spilling out of the ring and into the audience. Hogan and the Iron Sheik exchange haymakers in the center of the ring, rekindling their legendary feud, while Rodman dazzles the crowd with his unpredictable antics, flipping over the top rope to clothesline Gary Busey off his golf cart. Jim Ross, my God, they're everywhere! Stone Cold and Boo are halfway to the concession stand. Meanwhile, Rodman picks up a golf cart seat cushion and smashes it over Busey's head, sending the eccentric actor stumbling into a stack of steel chairs. Back in the ring, Hogan overpowers Sheik, tossing him into the turnbuckle and hitting a big boot that sends the Iranian legend flipping backward. The crowd goes wild. Elvira, this match is like a fever dream, and I am living for it. On the other side of the arena, Austin grabs a fan's soda, chugs it, and spits it into Boo's face. Enraged, Boo retaliates with a blast of pink energy, narrowly missing Austin and instead destroying a popcorn stand. Pauly Shore, bro, that was my popcorn stand. What the heck, Buzz? As the carnage continues, the golf cart stable attempts to interfere, swarming Rodman and Hogan with folding chairs and kendo sticks. However, Rodman fights them off with his bizarre improvisations, at one point using a golf cart's steering wheel as a shield. Ross, Dennis Rodman is a one-man wrecking crew. Look at the madness he's unleashing. The climax comes when Austin drags Gary Busey back into the ring and delivers a devastating cold stunner, sending Busey flying out of his boots. Before Austin can go for the pin, Hogan nails Sheik with his signature leg drop, covering him for the 1-2-3 and securing the victory for his team. The crowd erupts in cheers as the referee raises Hogan, Austin, and Rodman's hands in victory. The celebration is short-lived, however, as Majin Buu reappears, blindsiding Austin with a massive energy blast that sends him crashing into the ropes. Boo grabs the 14-12 championship belt, holding it high as the crowd rains down boos. Jim Ross, by God, Majin Buu has sent a message loud and clear. He may have lost the battle tonight, but he's determined to win the war. As Austin struggles to his feet, the video screen suddenly cuts to footage of his truck engulfed in flames from earlier in the night. Realizing what's happened, Austin flips out, shoving cameramen aside as he storms backstage in search of the anti-boiled egg brigade. Mr. Feeney, his voice grim, what a chaotic end to this night. Stone Cold has just seen the ultimate act of disrespect, and it looks like he's not going to let this go. The cameras follow Austin backstage, where he's ambushed by the pop pavers, who swarm him in a surprise attack. Austin fights back valiantly, but the numbers game is too much, and the show cuts back to ringside. Feeney, trying to maintain composure, recaps the champions. Majin Buu remains the 14-12 champion. The tag team titles are still held by Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. Shredder reigns as the laser gun surfing battle champion, while Heifer Wolf holds the competitive eating championship. Android 18 continues her dominance as Divas champion, and Tyrannosaurus is your sword fighting champion. The camera fades to black, with the logo of 1412 Wrestling flashing across the screen as Jim Ross gives the final word. We are out of time, folks. What a night. Join us next week where anything, and I mean anything, can happen.